Hello there, I'm Amanda Koh, and thanks for joining me this Wednesday on 7Edition. The headlines. Malaysia to begin new era of growth, says the Prime Minister. No change on Khazanah's stand on selling Plus. An LA shooting at Halloween party sees 12 casualties. The Prime Minister is confident that Malaysia is ready to start a new era of growth. Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said this was reflected in the government's commitment to implement a number of important reforms to enhance stability, strengthen fiscal management, and increase transparency in corporate governance.
It has been 1.5 years now since the government changed. As we uncovered more and more, Malaysia's potential was squandered, but we can also now see the road to recovery ahead. The new government had been working overtime to re-energize and clean up the mess left behind.
The Prime Minister stressed that although various proactive measures were taken to address the problems left by the previous government, it did take time to improve the country's fiscal situation. Thus, the initiative needed to achieve the ultimate goal is to progressively restructure the economy based on knowledge, as well as boost the well-being of the people, which will be a continuous effort. Tun Dr. Mahathir also expressed confidence that Malaysia is now at a high level of progress through various sources and prospects. In the meantime, the Prime Minister called on government-linked companies and government-linked investment companies to become catalysts that would spur the private sector and create a positive environment that would facilitate the country's socio-economic development.
We cannot cling to the current status quo. What will be an instrumental driver for the nation's growth will be corporate Malaysia implementing its role as a market changer. The government-linked investment companies, or GLICs, and GLCs must focus on creating strong institutions and establishing the necessary infrastructure and supporting policies to fuel the growth, and so doing become a catalyst that would spur the private sector.
Tun Dr. Mahathir also pointed to a current imbalance in public and private sector participation in corporate Malaysia, which, if left unchecked, could prove detrimental to the nation's future. He added that to build a solid and inclusive future for Malaysia, GLCs and GLICs must re-evaluate their level of participation in corporate Malaysia and recognize their synergies with the private sector, particularly towards empowering entrepreneurs. The Prime Minister said that with the growing emphasis on Industry 4.0 and digitalization, businesses must be flexible, adaptable, and embrace change. The Sovereign Wealth Fund Khazanah Nasional Berhad is not in the mood to sell Plus Malaysia Berhad, the country's biggest expressway toll firm. Its managing director, Datuk Syahril Ridza Ridwan, said Khazanah, which owns 51% of Plus, retained its stand not to dispose of its stakes in the company.
Like I mentioned, right, we are not in the mode of actually selling the asset, and we actually haven't got any kind of bidding process going on. I don't think our stand has changed.
He was commenting on reports that Widad Business Group Sdn Berhad has upped its offer to acquire 100% equity interest in Plus at a total enterprise value of 38.3 billion ringgit. This includes 5.3 billion for the equity interest, 3 billion ringgit compensation waiver, and 30 billion ringgit debt assumption. Other offers from Plus are from businessmen Tan Sri Halim Saad, who partnered with Datuk Wong Gian Kui to take over Plus whole equity holding for 5.2 billion ringgit. Maju Holdings Sdn Berhad, the operator of Maju Expressway, has also submitted its offer to acquire Plus at an enterprise value of 34.9 billion ringgit. Meanwhile, Economic Affairs Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin Ali said the government will only accept private companies taking over Plus if they can guarantee to abolish tolls. This is because it would contradict Pakatan Harapan's manifesto if Plus was sold to a private entity that would still charge tolls or hike up the rates.
Sebab bagi private sectors, dia profit oriented punya approach. Dia nak beli sesuatu yang boleh memberikan keuntungan. Kita bukan soal keuntungan. Khazanah melalui EPF dan juga EPF, dia nak memberikan khidmat kepada pengguna jalan raya. So, kecuali ada pihak swasta yang nak membeli Plus tapi dia nak hapuskan tol. Good luck to you. Kalau you boleh dapat.
He added that the government is discussing with all highway concessionaires in phases to decrease the burden of road users. Selangor police today disposed of over 143 tons of drugs worth 7.3 billion ringgit at the Quality Alam Sdn Berhad Waste Management Centre in Bukit Pelanduk, Negeri Sembilan. These drugs were seized from Gombak, Klang Utara and Kajang between 2003 to 2017. Heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, ketamine, Aramin 5. These are just samples of over 143 tons of drugs that the police have confiscated over 15 years. After being seized from drug laboratories and individuals and with the cases already settled in court, it's time for these drugs to be disposed of.
Jadi pihak kami akan melupuskan dadah-dadah ini di Kualiti Alam Bukit Pelanduk, di mana pihak Kualiti Alam akan mengambil tindakan untuk memusnahkan dadah ini secara lebih teratur dan tersusunlah berdasarkan arahan dan peraturan dan akta yang telah dikeluarkan di bawah alam sekitar.
Meanwhile, Datuk Nur Azam said from January to September this year, Selangor police arrested 16,318 drug addicts and dealers. At the same time, 35 officers and police in Selangor have also been detained for various drug offences so far. Tragedy today as the body of teenager Muhammad Daniel Danish Muhammad Jasmine was found in the Terengganu River. He was swimming with a group of friends yesterday afternoon before he was swept away by strong currents. Muhammad Daniel and 4 friends were swimming in Sungai Kampung Tuan Chik in Bukit Tunggal before strong currents swept him away at around 2:45 p.m. The 14-year-old's body was spotted floating just about 50 meters away from where he was last seen at about 11 this morning. The boy's mother, Nur Hayati Ali, accepted the incident as fate and thanked the rescue team for finding her son. A team of 50 rescuers assisted by a tracker dog were involved in the search and rescue operation. Muhammad Daniel's body was sent to Sultana Nur Zahira Hospital in Kuala Terengganu for post-mortem. Meanwhile, the body of a 42-year-old man who allegedly jumped from the Sultan Yahya Petra Bridge into the Kelantan River on Monday was recovered last night. His body was recovered from under the bridge by rescuers at about 9:50 p.m. The victim's family members were seen gathered at the scene of the incident reciting prayers. The victim, a car salesman, was believed to have been suffering from depression. On Monday night, he rode his motorcycle to the bridge and left it there before jumping into the river. The incident was witnessed by passerbys who alerted the authorities. The body was sent to the Raja Perempuan Zainab II Hospital for post-mortem. Taiping has been selected for the implementation of the first phase of the Age-Friendly City at Taiping pilot project. Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail said the pilot project would involve a development planning process that is expected to take 2 years. The pilot project was drafted by the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development in collaboration with the Perak government, Taiping Municipal Council and United Nations Development Programme towards establishing an age-friendly city in Taiping.
UNDP actually provided us assistance to the tune of $267,000 US to implement this project in Taiping. This is a pilot project that is to develop a set of localized recommendation and action plan in Taiping for the aged. And it is very apt because Taiping means town of everlasting peace.
She added that a comprehensive study will be carried out on Taiping's current status as an age-friendly city based on international guidelines issued by the World Health Organization. The results would be compiled to develop a national comprehensive framework adjusted to local needs that could be adapted elsewhere. Perak is expected to become the oldest state in Malaysia in 2020 when the senior population reaches 385,000, or 14.9% of the estimated 2.6 million total population. The Deputy Premier said the country would reach the aged nation status by 2030, with the percentage of people aged 60 and above at 15.3%. Actual drama or publicity stunt? We'll be right back with what Twitter Jaya has to say. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now on to the foreign front. 3 men have been killed and 9 people left injured in a Halloween party mass shooting after 2 hooded gunmen opened fire at a Los Angeles house. Police were called to the home at around 10:44 p.m. local time Tuesday, with authorities describing it as a mass casualty incident. Emergency services were met with chaotic and distressing scenes at the party, where victims had to be treated in a garden in front of the house. Police said that 2 hooded suspects opened fire at the Halloween party and are still on the run. Local media reports that 5 of the injured are in a serious condition while 4 are stable. It is possible there could be other victims who went to seek medical treatment on their own.
Hey, Jack. Seemed to work. I don't see anything extraordinary from this angle.
Britain is set for an election on December 12th after its Prime Minister Boris Johnson won approval from Parliament on Tuesday for an early ballot. After the European Union granted a 3rd delay to the divorce that was originally supposed to take place on March 29th, the UK, its Parliament and its electorate remain divided on how or indeed whether to go ahead with Brexit. The poll comes after the UK's exit deadline to January 31st next year, although Brexit can happen earlier if a deal is agreed by MPs. Johnson, who had promised to deliver Brexit on October 31st, hopes the vote will give him a fresh mandate for his deal to leave the EU and break the current deadlock in Parliament. In a rare parliamentary success after Johnson after a string of defeats, his short bill calling for the election was approved 438 to 20 in the House of Commons. The bill now goes to the House of Lords. In Cameroon, 26 children and 4 pregnant women were among at least 42 people killed after their houses were swept away in a landslide in the city of Bafoussam on Tuesday. The disaster was caused by torrential rains that have battered the country over the past few days, as well as the wider region, in neighboring Central African Republic and Nigeria also seriously hit. Authorities fear that the death toll could rise as the rescue operation continues into the night. The search will resume on Wednesday for additional bodies believed to remain under the rubble. Authorities said people had built homes on unsafe ground despite government warnings. Landslides are quite exceptional in the area, although further south they are less rare in the rainy season. Welcome back. Global rating agencies are expected to keep Malaysia's rating at investment grade A- or A3 in the near term. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng said this was due to the country's institutional reforms and resilient economic growth, as well as our clear and consistent messaging to the investment community.
Bila kami jelaskan tentang perlunya untuk buat sedikit expansionary, iaitu supaya kita belanja lebih sikit supaya dapat menangani sebarang kemungkinan bahawa ada kesan impak negatif hasil daripada itu perang perdagangan. Mereka boleh terima itu penjelasan, tapi akhirnya kena lihat prestasi dari segi fiskal, dari segi angka-angka lain-lain.
Fitch Ratings and Standard & Poor's rate Malaysia at A-, while Moody's Investor Services ranks the country at A3 with a stable outlook. Bursa Malaysia ended firmer after volatile trading today, backed by buying in index-linked counters led by CIMB. The benchmark FBMK LCI finished 2.21 points better at 1,580 from yesterday's close at 1,577.79. Now on to stocks to watch. Affordability seems to be a contributing factor to the firm's long-term earnings issue, as rising cigarette prices are pushing urbanites to vape. While the estimated 6% yield in financial year 2020 seems attractive, this is expected to fall progressively as earnings erode going forward. Next, Sunway Berhad, via its 55% subsidiary, Sunway Avila Sindra Berhad, has proposed to acquire a parcel of freehold land in Wangsa Maju for 37 million ringgit. The company plans to build a high-rise residential development with a gross development value of about 300 million ringgit. PSA Group, the French owner of Peugeot and its US-Italian rival, Fiat Chrysler, are in talks over a potential tie-up aimed at creating one of the world's leading automakers. A deal between the two car makers would create a business with a combined market value of nearly $50 billion. Fiat Chrysler Automotive said in a statement it confirms there are ongoing discussions aimed at creating one of the world's leading mobility groups with PSA, but offered no additional details. The potential merger would face significant political and financial hurdles. Discussions remain in the early stages and there is no guarantee of a final deal. However, if the two companies do combine, PSA Chief Executive Carlos Tavares is expected to lead the enlarged group. This is Fiat Chrysler's second attempt at a merger this year after it pulled out of an agreement with Renault in June. Up next, doing public relations the right way, according to this corporate queen. We'll be right back. Imagine you own a chain of restaurants, and while you're surfing through the internet, you suddenly realize there's a media crisis brewing. A customer has found a cockroach in one of your restaurants and has shared pictures online, causing a social media frenzy, with netizens now calling for a boycott of your brand. So how do you deal with a public relation crisis like this? Well, we had a talk with a woman entrepreneur to find out more about the workings of the PR industry and how she herself manages her company. Take a look. According to Yan Lim, the CEO of EO Lee Communications, resolving a social media crisis is one of the toughest tasks for any PR agency, as there are specific steps one has to follow to ensure the situation does not escalate. To address a public relation nightmare, such as viral pictures or videos or a boycott campaign online, is a very difficult and tedious process, but it has to be done the right way.
There was a cockroach in your restaurant. It is something really disgusting, and it will take your customers away from your restaurant, right? So the first thing you need to do is drafting a simple, one-paragraph statement. You need to apologize. Offer a heartfelt apology. That's number one. There's no arguing over that. And secondly, you need to mention that the team, you and the company is looking into this matter and looking into this issue, and you will address this and make sure that whatever that happened will not happen again, and you will actually change your ways moving forward. So if the situation is about your hygiene, the hygiene of your restaurant, then you will actually improve that.
Yan certainly knows the PR industry well, despite running her company with a young team for the last 4.5 years. Currently, EO Lee serves numerous government agencies and startups, helping them build the right public image, especially in times of crisis, as well as consulting clients on strategic communications, media relations, and digital social media marketing. She shared that it's important for companies to have a response team under its social media or corporate communications team, or even an external PR team that can help respond to any difficult situation. Getting an outside party like a PR agency helps because it would not be emotionally attached in responding to such issues.
There is a really fine line between responding too quickly and responding too slowly. So you can't respond too quickly, because when you respond too quickly, more often than not, you don't know what to respond. You have not sat down with your team, you have not spoken to your consultants, you have not gotten the feedback from the experts. So you might end up making more mistakes, creating a bigger crisis. But you also cannot respond too slowly, because by responding too slowly, you are making the customers or your stakeholders agitated, because they want to know what happens. What are you going to do to address the situation?
Yan says that the biggest challenge for a small boutique agency like hers is retaining talent, as the turnover is high. She also spends more time at the airport traveling with her clients to events than actually being in her office. Besides running her company, Yan is also involved with several organizations that help women entrepreneurs. This, as she believes, only the sky's the limit in what a woman can achieve. We're back with Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making the rounds in the cyber world today. Now, just yesterday, a video of a woman making a scene at Fashion Valet went viral, sparking a debate in Twitter Jaya. The clip, which most netizens are calling a publicity stunt, has garnered over 460,000 views in just 24 hours. Here's the story.
Is it a real argument or simply a marketing gimmick? You decide.
I cannot trust you guys anymore, okay? Hey, no, okay. How can this happen to me? Seriously, Effie. Kalau you guys buat macam ni, all the best lah. I don't know how orang lain can handle this.
The context of the video remains unclear, but that doesn't stop citizens of Twitter Jaya from speculating. Easy to say, netizens were just not convinced and were quick to call the incident fake and a publicity stunt, while some were criticizing the woman's acting, since the uproar seemed like a theatre show in reality. In response to the dramatic fiasco, Fashion Valet said in a statement on their Instagram profile that an explanation on the matter will be given tonight.
I'm Amanda Koh. Thanks for watching and good night.